Yeah. MD. JPB. It's only right, baby.
Yeah. Why you mad? I got a bad bro. Name hot in these streets, no Tabasco. But I'm so stuck, that's a fact, yo. And if you think I'm frontin', you can run it back, yo. Go on, run it back. You know that I run it. Everything you wanna do, I already done it. And I got your little boo telling me she love me. I got this. Damn, it's gonna be a long night.
Hello guys, what is up? It is me, Prince of This, and I'm back here with another video. Today we're doing what if Asta was a player. And before we get into this, I actually have something very important to say. Stop asking for what if Goku had gained the Rinnegan to come back, because it's not. I don't know if it's because most of you are new that you keep asking this. You saw the video, you thought it was nice, but unfortunately I did end that series, so please stop asking, because it's honestly getting very bothersome. Like, I get mad very easily if you haven't noticed, but like, seriously, please stop asking. I'm not redoing that series. I don't know if you're doing it to fuck with me or you actually don't know, but it's not coming back. And that goes for other series. Like, seriously, they're not coming back. I'm sorry, but that's it. I'm only doing minimum of only 2 what ifs at a time now, because I don't want to stress myself out. Plus, it's summer. I should be relaxing. So I'm doing whatever feels most comfortable for me. Even after summer is gone, I will stick with that motto, because there's no need to make myself, ruin my body, because I'm so agitated by constantly having to hear, oh, when is this coming out? When is this part 2? You forgot about this. You should have done this a few months ago. It just gets annoying, alright? And this is the last time I'm going to address it. So if you ask me for others, the other ways to come back, I will just not answer you. I'm not going to delete your comment, but I'm not going to answer them, because answering them would mean that I would have to care, and I don't care about the other series now. Please stop asking. Alright, let's get right into it. Come on. So now that I've ended my little rant, let's get actually into it. So last time we started off with Asta saving the entire kingdom almost single-handedly, and then he soon got to rescue some kids who were kidnapped. While arriving at the cave with Gyosh and Sister Teresa, Asta fought and beat Licht until his friends had to step in. However, they were no match, as Asta was physically stronger than them. And he was easily beating Vetzo, honestly, and he was way too powerful for Raya. They soon had to escape, and then Asta got found by the Magic Knight captains. Overall, after all this, Asta is being regarded by Julius as the most mysterious and strongest people, like one of the most strongest people in the entire kingdom. He and the captains would then stay in a room waiting for, to be calmed down. I think that's where I left it off. Yeah, they were going to be calmed down for an interrogation, and Asta was there too for some reason. But before that, Asta gets a mysterious new quest. Now, as they go to the interrogation room eventually, Asta would help them by asking for Tusk to make it so that March can actually ask some questions to the criminals that he caught. These criminals would then be asked, who in the Magic Knight Order had they been working with? The captain of the Purple Orchis answer all the prisoners simultaneously. Everyone would then look at the captain of the Purple Orchis, who then gets mad, arguing his case. What? Give me a break. Why would I betray my own kingdom? If you didn't, then there's no reason to get so worked up, says Asta, meaning you must be hiding something. Everyone of the captains would definitely agree, as a lot of rumors also circulate around Lugner, who is the captain of the Purple Orchis, so right now he doesn't seem so innocent. Marston said that if he wanted to be proven innocent, he should just let him use his information gathering magic on him. However, Lugner wasn't so keen on this, and in a moment of panic, he pulls out his grimoire, activating as he starts turning invisible. However, as he is, Asta then points at him, slowly clenching his fist. Unless you want me to crush your windpipe, you and your army will stand down. Army? Questions Charlotte. Lugner would then become visible as these invisible soldiers just appear, about to attack the captains, who are shocked at Asta's senses. Then the soldiers would then turn to nothing, as Asta then gets closer to Lugner as he uses Curse to seal his magic for 5 minutes. He then drops into the ground as he tries to punch Asta, who then meets his punch with his forehead, making him break his arm, as he then falls back to the ground holding his hand in pain. You're not bad, but that was pretty messed up, says Yami. So with Lugner now captured, Marx uses his magic to unveil all of his plans, and they were deeply terrible. And this is why Julius also told him to only keep the stuff to themselves. So anyway, they are then told to be more vigilant, and then they are dismissed. And as they are, Asta and Yami are then called to Julius's office, and as they are brought to the office, Julius then fills them in on the magic stones and how they need to get one, which is one of the grand zones of magic. Now, having received their mission, Yami and Asta would then be walking home out of the palace, and Yami then asks, hey kid, how strong were those guys at the cave? They were pretty weak, says Asta, but they were certainly bloodthirsty. Why are you asking? Yami would then let out a smoke from his cigarette, saying, no reason. So from here on out, we're going to do a huge time skip. The Water Temple arc will happen, but things will go a bit different because I will not be covering it. And because due to their injuries from fighting Asta, the Eye of the Midnight Sun have named him enemy number 1. So they don't attack the Water Temple as they know it might be suicide and they want to wait until the right time to get back the stones. So everything goes easily as Asta and Noel still meet Kahono and Kyoto and they become friends and all that. And during this time, Asta, with his sense stat, tells Noel that in advance that she instinctively always closes her eyes when she fires her magic because she doesn't want to hurt anyone, even though she won't really admit it. And this arc will be a great time for her to grow in general, and as she does, everyone helps her control her magic more, and she can now accurately shoot water balls at targets. Now, having gained the magic stones, the group then goes back, and about a day would pass as the next day comes, and Asta is in the forest, checking out the quest he got yesterday. What have you got for me this time? He then fully accepts the quest as he runs to where the key told him to go, and it was really early in the morning, so most of the members were still asleep. He went to a spot in the forest as he puts the key in mid-air and twists it. A huge purple portal would then just open out of nowhere as he puts his fireproof cloak on and then checks his equipment and all that in his inventory, and then he enters and he goes to a different and new part of the demon realm. He instantly sees what his quest is, and it is to be a guardian of sorts. However, Asta felt very nervous because this dungeon reminded him of the place where he gained his powers to begin with. However, the probability of meeting that giant statue again kind of intrigued him, so as he moved forward, he had to fight a bunch of actual demon nobles, and soon he made it to a room where he had to fight a huge skeletal dragon, which was guarding a white flame. Asta had to use a lot of strength to get the flame, which was pure white, seriously, white as hell, and soon he did beat the guardian, and as he did, his clothes were actually slightly battered, and he got some good drops though, so that's good. Asta then picks them up thinking, I wonder how long this quest took. Unfortunately, this one isn't timed. He then looked at the white flame, which was up on a pedestal, and he slowly walked up to it and touched the flame. Now as he did, it actually entered his body, making him kneel down in pain. The flame at this point was not only entering his body, but becoming part of him, and after a minute or so, the assimilation was over and Asta had gained a new skill. Player has learned new skill, White Flame. Asta then stood up as his clothes and his fireproof cloak were actually burnt off, and feeling a bit annoyed and amazed at this skill, Asta checks it to see that now he can actually gather flames in his hands, which are able to burn literally everything. If I level this up, I'm gonna be literally unbeatable. Now, about you. He then walks down and looks at the skeletal dragon that attacked him, which was the guardian, and says, arise, but it doesn't work. He then focuses and says so once more, as the dragon turns into a huge dragon demon soldier, and the dragon was now much bigger, and Asta named it Kaizel. He then got the Heartstone in that moment and just put Kaizel in his collection, and he said, alright, let's go home. He then crushes the Heartstone as his surrounding area just changes and he appears back in the forest. These are his current stats, okay? Strength 335, Agility 345, Sense is 280, Intelligence is 400, HP is 70,232, MP is 334,060. His class is still Demon Monarch. His name is Asta, obviously. Level is 130 now, and his fatigue is 35%. But now his physical damage reduction has risen up to 70%. Just a little stronger, says Asta. He then gets a notification saying that he also earned a new title, Holder of the White Flame, and this had a status effect. It actually increases his mana by 50%, and enemies who touch the player with ill intent will be burnt, badly. Asta thinks this is way too OP and is feeling excited to add this to his power set when he senses just a bunch of mages breaking through the Clover City barrier. He then summons Kaizel as the massive dragon forms from under his feet and launches into the sky, flying towards the city to help. We then cut to Langris, Finral's brother, as he had just beaten a mage who could use a corrosive slimy sort of fluid. He then feels a shadow cover him as he looks up to see a gigantic, dark dragon who roars, catching everyone's attention on the battlefield. Asta would then stare down at the diamond mages who were still flying in the sky, as one of the diamond mages then went to say, "What the hell is that?" The mage that asked that would then be hit by pure blue flames that destroy him and his entire fleet. The dragon then turns around aiming it at all the flying mages, killing them all in an instant. We then cut to Yuno and Belle, who asked, what is that thing? It's Asta. It's definitely his magic. It's unlike any other. What the hell did you pick up this time? Now, all the diamond mages in the Clover Kingdom, as well as the citizens, they all see this giant dragon, which is something that only exists in legend. Luckily, though, it seems to be on the Clover Kingdom side. However, the dragon would then disappear, imploding on itself as Asta reabsorbs it and starts falling. He then slams down, landing into the ground as he just says, "The Diamond Kingdom, huh? And what the hell is Captain Vengeance doing with these vines?" Asta would then be found by Yuno, who landed down from the sky, and Charmy as well as Finral would arrive. "Where the hell have you been?" yells Finral, "and why are your clothes so burnt up?" "It was a dungeon," says Asta. "Don't worry about that right now." Asta's shadow would then grow as out of it comes about 9 demon soldiers, just foot soldiers, and he would yell, "Spread out and evacuate everyone." The summons would then spread out as Asta summons one last person, Tusk. Tusk would then come out bowing in front of Asta, who asks him to take care of all the diamond mages. "What do you mean?" yells Yuno. "There's no way he can just take care of all." Tusk would then cut him off, shouting Heim of Gigantification as he grows, towering over everyone, and he is able to sense all the mana of the diamond mages as he shouts Heim of Combustion. Now, as he says this, all the diamond mages would be just consumed by just a ball of fire, which would then blow them up while they're inside it, effectively killing them all in an instant, and that includes Lotus, who was spying on Vengeance, seeing what he could do. However, he died, so yeah, and Vengeance also saw it and gets surprised. Also, I don't know what the Heim of Combustion is. I think I forgot it. Tell me down in the comments what it is. I don't think he actually uses it, because I went to Google and tried to find something, but I don't know. Maybe I should just read the, the mono. Maybe they have it there. I should have done that. But yeah, I'm just going to make that Heim of Combustion now. Sorry. Vengeance would then think, what is this? He then notices Tusk's huge amount of magical energy, and he sees him as a giant that's towering over the city, but then the giant just, shrinks. Lake for a moment would then break through as we see his twisted face of anger just for a moment before he hears Yami's voice, and he reverts back to Vengeance. "Mind telling me what's wrong with you?" yells Yami. Vengeance would then turn around facing Yami as they start talking on the rooftop. Now, as they converse, Asta's soldiers would be fanning out and rescuing people who at first were a bit put off by them, but then they trusted them because they were dressed as knights, so it should be fine, right? This means that Asta only brought out his foot soldiers and Egress to lead them. So soon this whole thing would be over and everyone is safe and Asta has become stronger, and he also got to add an entire army of mages to his army. So now it's not just like, fire mages and stuff in his army. It's mages with different abilities, and no one even noticed he actually did this. We then cut to Asta being in front of Julius as Yami and Vengeance are by his side. "Thanks for the help, Asta. Seems like your collection has grown. Is there any..." Asta then cuts him off saying, "No, you can't see the dragon. It would literally break through the ceiling." Julius would then get kind of like, mad and frustrated, but is also scared because Yami, Vengeance, and him realize that somehow Asta's magic has become more potent than before. "Every time I see him, he never fails to amaze me," thinks Vengeance. Asta would then all of a sudden just smile in the creepiest way, making everyone feel uneasy as Julius asks if there's something wrong and if he noticed something. Asta then says it's nothing as he says, "Well, I need to go visit my mom, so if you don't mind, later." Using Shadow Exchange, Asta then gets swallowed up by shadows as he disappears and is gone. However, the ogre that Asta switched with, switched places with, was put on Yami to keep an eye on him because he's now fearing that people will attack his team. "I'm not the only one who felt it, right?" asks Yami. Julius would then say, "No, you're not. That kid is becoming more and more of a monster." So we cut to Asta arriving at home for the first time in a while, and he sees his mom actually sleeping, and he smiles, kneeling down as he grabs her hand just like he used to when she was sick. "I saved you." "I really did," thanks Asta. Lichita would then wake up for a moment and sees Asta as she sits up patting him on the head. "Welcome back. How are things at the capital?" Asta would then say they're fine, and he would ask his mom if he could just stay like this just for a bit, and she says sure. However, Asta's sunny disposition does not show his true thoughts right now. "So, Vengeance, or William, whatever, you're the light user, huh? I did not see that coming," thinks Asta. So fade to black, and the next day Asta teleports back to the Black Bulls, and it is early in the afternoon. So as he comes home though, he only sees Yami and senses no one else in the building, and Yami's reading a newspaper like he usually does. He would then ask Yami where everyone else was, and Yami says that they're out training. Well, if you have some free time, wanna spar?" Yami's eyes would then widen as he looks at Asta and gets intrigued, saying sure. "Why not, but don't look down on me." Asta then laughs as they go outside, and they stand side by side as Yami says, "On my count, we go." Asta then nods as when Yami counts down to 1, they disappear, and the forest in front of them has a huge explosion just appear in the middle of it. We then see Asta take out Baruka's dagger to block a sword strike from Yami, and then he shoves Yami off, making him think that Asta was going to cut his cheek, only for him to be sent flying into the air by a punch to the stomach. Is this kid just really a mage? Asta then appears behind him with Yami barely able to see him and keep up with him as he gets the punch just slammed in his face, and he slams into the ground, leaving a huge crater in the forest, destroying the surrounding trees just even more. Asta then lands down squatting as out of the dust cloud created by the clash, Yami runs out with the dark slash, which Asta actually dodges very easily, and then Yami launches a few more at him, but he dodges again. Yami then appears in front of Asta, striking down with his sword, with Asta only using Vital Strike, and Yami's sword is knocked to the side, and then he gets a cut on the side, and then a huge hole in the shoulder. Yami would then be shaking his boots, but he's kind of excited for the challenge, as he and Asta would just keep trading blows for hours and hours. And surprisingly, this is the most fun Asta has ever had, and the goes same for Yami. This battle also allows Yami to grow and develop, as he actually uses Dimensional Slash, but it also helps him learn to perform better, since Asta has this constant domineering, just dominating presence. So soon the Black Bulls would arrive to see the two still fighting, and even though it's almost night, they're still fighting. Luck would then say, "Man, I really wish I was here when this all started. They devastated the entire area just for a fight." "There is no more forest," says Noelle while being wide-eyed. So as she says this, the whole group would then be hit by a gust of wind, and they'd be blinded for a bit, and they would then see again, and when they would see again, they would see far off in the distance that Asta and Yami would jump out of a crater. The Black Bulls would then run towards the two, seeing a heavy and a heaving Yami. Why am I messing up so much today? And a completely fine Asta, as he was trying to help Yami stand, but he said, "Hell no." "Oh, hey guys," says Asta. "What exactly prompted this?" asked Vanessa. Asta then hands Yami a potion as he drinks it, and he's completely healed. All the wounds are gone. And Asta would just say, "He wanted to spar, so we did." "Well, you guys really went all out," says Magna. "I really wish I could do this one day." "Who says you can't?" says Asta, confused. Everyone would then lift an eyebrow to this, as Asta says that from here on out, if they want to get stronger, he'll be their training partner if they want. And this gets everyone excited, as Luck then says, "Here I come then." Luck would then create lightning boots as he goes to slash at Asta with his lightning claws. However, Asta easily dodges it, stepping back as Luck goes after him again. Asta then sees a flaming fireball coming out of him, and he just smacks it to the side. "Come on, you can do better than that." Magna, who threw the attack, would then jump in, tag teaming with Luck, and Noelle would then yell as Luck and Magna look back to see her shooting a giant sea dragon at them, and they move out of the way so, Asta can take the blow. Asta would then think she's improved, but it's not enough, as by using his Dominator's Touch, he just grabs the dragon, just crushing it, as it then appears behind Noelle with his blade about to cut her. But then his movements are kind of stopped by this invisible force, and he sees that Vanessa is doing this. "Don't get so ahead of yourself just yet, Asta," says Vanessa. However, Asta would just yank the thread a little bit, pulling her in already, and then Ghost would step in to help, and then Gordon joins the battle, and so does Gray and Charmy, and Yami would go inside to go get some sake, but then he stops as he goes to train in secret on his own, because he's a captain and he doesn't want to, let down his team. So this training will be what motivates everyone to just try harder, a little bit better, and a week passes. Now during these weeks, Luck's speed and mana increases by a lot, and his body just naturally moves before he even thinks about it, like his next moves, because he's had to fight like that to try and surprise Asta. And Magna does get better, but he specializes in control, because he finally learns that he needs to just stop fighting like Luck and not just use pure power. He's just a commoner, and Luck, despite being a commoner himself, just has a lot of mana. He just doesn't have that, so he's gonna try to learn how to create traps, and he does, and they're very effective. Not effective against Asta, but they're really good. And Noelle, finally getting the training that Asta was actually preparing for, learns the Valkyrie armor way earlier, but can only maintain it for 5 minutes, so it's her ultimate move. But her control has gotten way better, and she doesn't really miss anymore, like at all, unless she's like disturbed or, feeling frustrated or, flustered. Charmy, who was already pretty strong, just gets stronger. Ghost focuses on the power of his mirror ray since being traumatized by Bearwood that one time. And while fighting with Asta, for the first time ever, Gordon screams with so much passion, surprising just everyone because they thought he was mute or something. And this, brings him closer to the team. The same goes for Gray, except she doesn't yell, and now everyone knows her true form and face, so she learns not to only be more comfortable with herself, but Asta tells her that her magic is one of the strongest types he's ever seen, because at a certain point, even though she didn't realize it, she actually healed herself and closed up a wound, from being hurt by Asta. Hearing this from someone that strong just made her more confident and proud that she no longer took that huge form because she didn't need to anymore. Vanessa also focuses on the grip strength of her strings, but she notices that it's not enough strength, and as for Henry, for some reason he just can't suck magic out of Asta, and the system tells Asta that he will find out why when he gets stronger. Even Finral eventually joined the training, but Asta gave him a special bracelet from the item that, from an item that was in the store. This gives Finral the strength of 20 men, but he needs to train with a bit with it, because if he combines his strength with teleporting, he could become really powerful. He could have a really unorthodox fighting style you're not used to. So during this training, Asta also puts his shadows on everyone to keep them safe, And we then switch to Vanessa's perspective as she's talking to her teammates. So that's it. I need you guys to accompany me to the witch's forest. Why do you need to go there though? Asked Luck. Vanessa would then say, I spent enough time being a drunkard. I have to get stronger, and for that, I need her help. Who is this person? Asked Noelle. My mother, says Vanessa. We then cut to the entire team riding on brooms as they arrive at the witch's forest, and in front of them would come out an army of witches, as one witch said, Halt! Your companions may not pass. I want an audience with you, yells Vanessa. The confused witches would then watch as the entire team gets enveloped by a flock of crows, and then they disappear. The entire team would then be teleported to the queen's room as they look up to see her sitting on her throne. You complete failure, yells the witch queen. You've returned, have you? The entire Black Bulls team would then feel the pressure of her magic. However, Asta is unfazed by it, and he then releases this explosion of pressure on his friends, surprising the queen. Who is that man? She then focuses her attention on Vanessa. You ruined all my plans, you know. If you had just stayed under my wing and not followed that mortal, you could have the power to control fate itself. Alright then, says Vanessa. Teach me how to control fate itself. The queen would then figure out she was here to get some training in. However, this would then piss off the queen because after all those years of leaving, she just came back acting like she was the queen herself. You are far too insolent. She would then send an army of crows at Vanessa to snuff her out, but Asta would then appear in front of Vanessa, just taking out Baruga's blade as he slices and dices, instantly cutting all the crows to nothing. I suggest you calm down. He then points down, crushing the queen under gravity as she's feeling her internal organs just freaking being crushed. After all, she's not alone, you know, says Asta. For a moment, Asta's eyes would then shine purple before going back to blue, and he releases his bloodlust skill, overwhelming the queen, who then starts to breathe heavily. She's basically on the verge of death, but Vanessa tells Asta to stop, and he does, as Vanessa then helps up her mother, saying that she only came here to get some help because she doesn't want to be weak anymore. I want to feel complete. I want to be complete, yells Vanessa. The queen would then be stunted, but as she goes to say something, she would then be interrupted by her alarm. Her golem, which was supposed to be like protecting her entire, her people, just freaking was killed off. You're under attack, aren't you? Asked Magna. The castle of the queen would then start to shake as everyone tries to, stay stable, and Asta would then ask, if we stop the attack on your kingdom, will you help Vanessa? You don't plan to force me? I'm a reasonable person, says Asta. The queen would then think about this and say sure as the Black Bulls then get ready to go crazy, and making a portal for everyone, Finral activates his spatula magic and everyone jumps through it, leaving it to, leaving the castle to go stop whatever it is that is happening. When they arrive outside, they realize that the Diamond Kingdom is attacking again, but there seems to be another army coming from another side, but they don't seem like they're a team or anything. Now, Luck being Luck would head out without any warning as Magna chases after him and they head for the Diamond Mages. Charmy decides to go with them, as does Ghosh, and this leaves Asta, Vanessa, Gray, Finral, and Gordon to fight the other army. Now, Finral makes another portal and they arrive to see a forest just burn down and witches are being killed off one by one. So, targeting the main leader of this army, Asta pulls Fauna closer using Dominator's Touch as he then slams a punch in her face, sending her skipping across the ground. Fauna's followers would then go to attack, but the Black Bulls go after them. Meanwhile, Asta approaches Fauna, who starts to get up, bleeding at the mouth. You again. Raya says I should avoid you, but I don't care anymore. She would then summon the Fire Spirit, which would then go to claw at Asta, but he dodges, throwing his dagger at Fauna, only for the spirit to block it. But the blade then disappears, shocking her, as Asta appears above her with a cross slash. Fauna would then get 2 huge cuts across her chest and spits out blood. The Fire Spirit then waves at Asta, who dodges once again, and Fauna jumps in on it and starts flying away into the air to avoid Asta. Now, as Asta lands back down, he would then see Finral teleporting and punching like a ton of mages at once, and it actually seems really effective, and he's helping the others. Maybe giving him the power bracelet wasn't such a good idea. He would then use Dominator's Touch to stop a huge ass incoming fireball, dissipating it as he sees Fauna just raging to look away while fighting me. Me! You humans are always so frustrating. Don't compare me to normal humans, lady. You attacked us first. I'm just retaliating. He would then activate the White Flame skill as his skin starts to steam and his clothes burn off. Launching towards Fauna, he then puts his hand out as she then shoots a huge fireball at him. However, Asta's hand would make contact with the attack and his hands just burn through the fireball, which then he just spears through it and makes it to the other side, landing a punch in Fauna's stomach. How is this possible? We're loved by Mana. You're just a human. The Fire Spirit then gets unsummoned as she falls, and he catches her, turning off the white flame skill. It really can burn through everything, even fire magic. I really wish it wouldn't burn my clothes though, says Asta. He then closes his eyes and spreads his senses to the other battlefields to check on what the others are doing, and they're pretty good, but he senses the other black bulls being chased back, and Luck would then land near him, as do the others, and then Mars comes with them. Asta then gets ready to kill Mars because he attacked them before, but then Luck says that he's on their side now. Kruger, who was, swordsman, magic swordsman, would then land down as well, introduces himself as Mars' master and that he's here to help them out. He and Mars then notice Fauna in Asta's arms, and their eyes just widen as they would ask, as Asta would then ask if they know her. She's my friend. Why was she attacking you? Asked Mars. Asta would then hand her over, saying that his best bet is she's either being controlled or she's really falling that far off the deep end. This is when Ladros would arrive, crating into the ground, and he was already pretty powered up since he actually absorbed some magic from the witches he killed earlier, and Ladros would then say, "You're banning against me? You know, I've never liked you, Mars." He would then shoot an attack at Mars, who was holding Fauna, only for Asta to come in and cut the fireball in half with his dagger. He then starts rushing at Ladros, and rays of fire start to approach Asta, but as this happens though, Ladros was thinking that he was in complete control of the situation. Asta would then actually put away his dagger, activating the sprint skill as he effortlessly dodges all the attacks, and he deflects from with his bare hands. What the hell? That's not possible, thinks Ladros. Asta then appears right below him as he slams a punch in Ladros' stomach, and he activates his white flames, burning a hole in him. Asta then throws more rapid blows to Ladros, who actually tries to absorb the flame, but as he tries to, he gets an internal injury. Trying to sap my magic, are you? Trust me, you can handle me, or even a bit of my full strength. A punch would then land in Ladros' face as Asta rips off his head, and it burns to a crisp on impact. Who is this guy? Asked Kruger. He's someone you really don't want to mess with, responds Mars. Now Asta turns around with his shirt now actually being fully burnt off, and his abs and muscles are exposed. He would then say, yeah, that's really gonna get annoying. He then deactivates the skill as he grabs a normal shirt from his inventory and puts it on. The Black Bulls then rally around Asta, asking what that white flame was just now. However, as they're doing this, Mars would approach Asta, thanking him for holding back against Fauna, and Kruger thanks him as well. Can I see her for a moment? Asks Asta. Asta then puts his hand on her stomach as he closes his eyes, spreading his magic through her body, and this would allow him to disperse essentially the soul of the elf that was taking over her, and this returns her back to her normal self. So the reincarnation spell that was building up, whatever, it's gone. She then opens her eyes as this is when she sees Mars, and she hugs him with all her might, and he hugs her back. Seems like you held up your end of the bargain, says the Queen of the Witches. Everyone then turns around to face her, and Vanessa then asks if she will help them now. Not exactly, says the Queen, as she then uses her blood magic and spreads it across where they are right now, and she holds everyone up on crosses made of blood. You don't want to do this, says Asta. Oh, but I do. I'm the Queen. You really thought I would listen to you? She then makes the blood around enter Asta's body. My specialty is blood magic. Soon, you're going to become my blood puppet, and you will kill your friends, one by one. What is wrong with you? Yells Vanessa. Asta then cracks his neck as the magic that's inside him gets dispelled because of the fact that anything that tries to mess with the player won't happen, so he can't be mind controlled. Don't worry, senpai. She's nothing but an ant. He then starts moving towards the Queen, that is actually really scared, and she threatens to kill everyone, but Asta activates Bloodlust, with everything she casts just disappearing as she cannot focus. She falls to the ground as Asta grabs her by the neck and holds her up, slowly squeezing her neck. Fuck you, says Asta. He's then about to squeeze and kill her on the spot when a red cat appears on his arm, and somehow he just loses grip and he releases the Queen. He then sees that this creature is tethered to Vanessa, and thus he pats it, understanding what has just happened. Let's just go home. Looks like you don't need her anymore, right? Says Asta. Gordon would then say, indeed, but even for you, Asta, that was pretty brutal. Asta then looks back at the Queen, who was about to leave, but Asta tells her to stop, as he then asks for the earring, which is a magic stone they actually need. She then gives it up as Asta tells her to never get near Vanessa again, unless she wants to suffer a horrible agony. They then use Funeral's portal to go home, saying goodbye to Mars, Fauna, who would then go on their separate ways as well, and and Kruger as well, obviously. Now, as they step back into the hideout, they see Yami reading a newspaper while smoking. Oh, you guys are back. What happened? You stink. They would then notice the smell of the sweat kind of coming off of them, and they laugh as they decide to go to the onsen in the castle. The Black Bulls were back home once again. So a few days would pass as we see Asta appear with his mom at the hideout. So this is where you work. I guess you could say that. I still think this is a bad idea, says Asta. Now, as he says this, the other Black Bulls would just walk out into the living room, asking Asta if that was his sister or something. This makes Lichita blush as she says that she's actually Asta's mother. Noel would then be stunted, thinking, it's her, the final boss, the ultimate enemy. So the Black Bulls would then, take their turns introducing themselves, and Noel is like really nervous to be doing this because she essentially likes Asta and she kind of knows it now, but now it's like, that's Asta's mom. Like, yo, this is the woman I'm supposed to be getting like the permission from or whatever. I need to get her on my good side. So as they introduce themselves, Yami would then come out and he does the same as well. We're actually about to go to the festival. You should join us, says Yami. Lichita would then say sure as they get to the capital, and there's a celebration that's already started. The streets would be lit up by lights and there's a ton of people everywhere just eating and doing whatever. And Asta would be buying stuff for him and his mom. He would then meet Kiyato and Kahono and they would start to find Noel as they start just hanging out, with Lichita sharing embarrassing stories about Asta as a kid. Now while they're laughing and enjoying themselves, a voice enhanced by magic would then echo throughout the crowd. Thank you all for gathering. For this year's festival, I will be presenting the Magic Knights Awards. Julius will then reveal the appearance of the Midnight Sun and the fact that the Spade Kingdom and the Diamond Kingdom are obviously out to get them. But that is why they have Magic Knights. And so he introduces the Magic Knight captains, except for Yami because he's enjoying the festival like them. Now as the crowd is cheering for them, Julius then introduces the squad in first place. And it's actually the Golden Dawn, tying with the Black Bulls, which shocks everyone, including the Black Bulls themselves. Now, showing all of their accomplishments as well as the Golden Dawn's accomplishment, the crowds will then see that someone from the Black Bulls was the reason why, all those shadow creatures came and helped them. And, the dragon, someone is responsible for the dragon. And this was then that they would just start murmuring, asking, who was the knight that saved all of us? Yeah, those soldiers saved my child. Put him up on stage. Let's see the Shadow Army. Yeah, the Shadow Army. They would then start chanting for the Shadow Army as Noel would then tell Asta to go up there. And he doesn't really want to, but then Julius points at him, telling him to go up on stage. For the love of... He would then instantly appear on the stage with his hands in his pockets as he waves to the crowd, making all the girls blush when they see him. And also today we have Yuno from the Golden Dawn, who has done great to contribute for the safety of the kingdom. Yuno then steps out, getting a lot of cheers as well, as Julius would then say, believe it or not, these two are actually commoners. The vice captain of the Golden Dawn would then be hating on Yuno, and now the crowd is also doubting that commoners could be that strong, or that these two are even commoners, because honestly, even without like the magic, Yuno doesn't look like a commoner at all. So Yuno would then tell Bell to go full power, as a lot of magic will release from him, surprising everyone, and he points at Asta. I don't think this is a good idea. Don't tell me you're scared, says Yuno. Oh, you're funny, says Asta. He then releases half of his magic, blowing back the captains and Julius as well as the crowd a bit, and Yuno then shoots an attack at Asta, who then, out of like nowhere, pops out a magic claw, a magic shadow claw out of his shadow that catches and blocks this attack. This claw then, comes out and claws out of Asta's shadow as it flies up into the air, revealing itself to be Kaizel, the dragon. Wow, it's really him, says the crowd. Lichita would then say, my son sure does know how to make an entrance. She then laughs with the others getting nervous when they see and, hear this, and they would be wondering, that's his mom? How is she used to that? Now everyone is just amazed by this display of power, with Kaizo landing behind Asta as he bends down, or he or she, I don't care, as he bends down and Asta rubs his cheek, just like, petting him. These two are some monsters, aren't they, thinks Julius. So, how will the Eye of the Midnight Sun retaliate? Why can't Henry affect Asta with this curse? And what is the purpose of this mysterious white flame that Asta found? More will be revealed on the upcoming parts, because this is where I'm leaving it off. Welcome to the end of the video, guys. I hope you guys really enjoyed. You might have noticed I stuttered a bit more than usual. I think I stuttered a bit more than usual. Lucky for you though, there's editing, so I cut out some of the parts that were gibberish, where I didn't know what the fuck I was saying, but it still might have been annoying for y'all. I apologize for that. I don't know why. Sometimes there's some days where I'm perfect. Sometimes I don't know what I'm saying. Sometimes I'm just, I don't know why. I don't know what the hell is going on. So sorry about that. I hope you guys still enjoyed the video though. Let's try to go even to 15K. You guys are already like, kind of propelling me with the views already and the likes, so thank you for that. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and show anybody else want like what ifs, you know, hit the notification bell. The Discord is always down below, like I always say. And I might be coming up with some new what ifs soon, maybe some very interesting ones. Also, what if Naruto was a speedster? That's coming soon, because I'm practically almost done with the second part. I love summer so much, bro. I literally have nothing to do, so doing these what ifs is so fucking fun right now. If you guys have any ideas for what if show hero what ifs, please tell me, because I want to do what if Naofumi had the Rikugan, which is essentially the 6 eyes from, you know, Gojo Satoru Jujutsu Kaisen. But you know, I don't know, I want to call it the 6 eyes. That sounds stupid to me. Rikugan, that shit sounds dope. If you want me to do that, tell me in the comments. If you want me to do Sharingan again and do it right this time, then tell me, even though you probably already liked the original. But I don't think I want to continue from where I left off last time. Also, I don't know if I remember your account name correctly. I think you were called The God in my comments. I'm not sure I'm able to do your what if, man. You know, I think it was the mask from Slaughterhouse. Yeah, I'm not sure I want to do that now, because I don't know if I can do gory shit like that. So sorry, but if you can comment something else, you know, I'll try to work on it. Sorry I can't do your idea. But anyway, I hope you guys stay safe. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy your summer, because I know I am. Definitely. Goodbye.